Good afternoon and welcome to 2017 August 14 special meeting. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Armenian,
Present.
Kazarian,
Present.
Ramirez,
Present.
Tashjian is absent, Chair Avedisian.
Present.
The agenda for the August 14, 2017 meeting of the CDBG Advisory Committee was posted on or before Friday, August 11, 2017 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Item 2, introductions and presentations. At A is introduction of new CDBG Advisory Committee member, Norer Gazarian.
Thank you. Chair Avedis and members of the committee, I'd like to welcome and introduce Mr. Norer Gazarian to the CDBG Advisory Committee. Mr. Gazarian has been a resident of Glendale for the last 40 years. He attended Keene College in New Jersey, majoring in engineering and drafting. He currently is the general manager of High Star Auto Sales Incorporated in Car City and La Crescenta. He also has been a member of a number of social service organizations and very active in the Crescenta Valley Chamber of Commerce. He's been active with the Home and Mess CPON Burbank chapter, the Armenian Apostolic Church, and he was also a Boy Scouts leader in Tehran for 7 years. I would like to welcome Mr. Norer Gazarian.
Thank you.
Welcome. Do you have any comments?
Look forward to serving with you, Mr. Gazarian. We welcome you on board.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm part of this team. Hopefully we can help the people in Glendale that they need the budget to work and up the city growth.
Thank you.
And we met earlier. Welcome.
All right. What's next, please?
Next is item 3, minutes. At A, approval of the minutes of the February 24, 2017 CDBG Advisory Committee special meeting.
Okay. Do we have any comments and changes
On the
last meeting?
minutes, item 3, just for consistency on the motion, the last motion, I just want to amend it to, it says second floor renovation. I voted no at the main campus, and I wanted to say main campus Los Angeles.
Sorry, which one are you referring to?
Item 3, second page.
Second page.
And it would be this one right here.
Bottom.
2A?
Well, I don't know if it says 2A. I think it's item 3. Anyway, did you find it? I just wanted to amend it.
It does says no's, Ramirez.
Yeah, so amend it. If with add Los Angeles.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the item that you're referring to.
Okay, it's the
Is it
bottom of the
3B?
page 3.
3B2A?
The last motion. Main campus. And she's asking to add Los Angeles location.
To which one?
Here, we're adding Los Angeles here. Yeah,
Main campus.
Oh, okay. So noted.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay?
Sorry, so we're adding Los Angeles to that?
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand the reason for the change, frankly.
I'm asking for the amendment.
I know, but it's referred to as the main campus of Home and Amendment. We don't put that on any other, we don't go to those specifics to any other organization, so I don't understand why.
Well, the reason I tried to do a clarification, the reason I voted no is because I don't think it's in our census tract as required.
I remember why you voted
Well,
no, Commissioner Ramirez, but the problem is that we don't explain, we don't put those sorts of things in any of the other motions. There's lots of reasons we vote yes or no.
well, we don't have to. I asked for the amendment, so.
Okay, do we take a
I'm
vote?
disagreeing with it.
That was
Vote on
part
a
of my
motion?
motion. That was
Is
part
there
of my no.
amendment?
So, I'm sorry, is there a motion to approve it with the amendment, or?
She's making a motion for amendment.
To approve the minutes with the amendment?
Okay, is there a second?
Of course not.
there another motion?
We don't do it for any other organization.
What other organization is located in Los Angeles?
They're
A
not, we've been
lot
through
of
this
them, but
before. That's
Pasadena,
incorrect.
Burbank, and location that they don't even have a location in Glendale. They're using a room, one of the organizations that last year that they got
That was
little
the
bit of
reason for,
funding.
that was the reason for your no vote, right?
Right. All right.
Okay, but it's okay for you to vote no for them, but not me, huh?
No, you voted what you voted right there. Everyone votes their conscience and their understanding what they want to vote, what their beliefs are. I cannot tell you not to vote either way around or vote either way around. So whatever you're pleased and comfortable with, that's your vote,
Yeah.
and that's your right.
That's
So
why I made the
everyone
amendment.
else is the same. You know, the only was three of us that was present here today. That's present here today was present at the meeting last time,
I
and
think
we
you
all
need three.
voted. We all voted the way we voted our decision. So I don't think there is any hardship in either way around or someone against each other in that sense. Okay, I guess let's move on.
Make a motion.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as they exist today.
Is there a second?
Can I second?
We don't have a second.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, you're not able to second,
I can? Okay.
no. Unless you pass the gavel to someone else, but
All right.
otherwise, I guess the minutes won't be approved.
No, they're not approved. There's no vote.
Unless Commissioner Gozerian seconds it.
He
I'll
can't,
second.
he
He's not
can't,
able to because he
he
didn't
can't,
attend
he
the
wasn't
meeting.
part of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, you may pass the gravel to a different committee member in order to make that your vote.
Can Commissioner Gozerian vote on this or no?
He cannot, he would have
Cannot.
to abstain.
Okay.
Okay,
Pass
in
the-
this case, I guess I'll pass the gavel to Mr. Nazarian, in order for me to second the motion.
Correct.
Okay?
Committee members, Armenian,
Yes.
Gazarian abstains. Ramirez,
No?
Justin is absent. Chair, or I guess Avedisian.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Motion passed.
Will you read the motion to me?
The motion is to approve the minutes of the February 24th, 2017 CDBG Advisory Committee special meeting as written.
Okay, and then you'll include my motion that failed for lack of a second?
will.
Okay, thank you.
okay, thank you. What's next, please?
Next is oral communications. I don't have any cards. Next is item 5, business agenda at A, action items. One is review and approve program planning schedule for the fiscal year 2018-19 annual action plan. At A is motion to approve the program planning schedule for the fiscal year 2018-19 annual action plan.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the CDBG Advisory Committee, it's interesting, we're now looking at fiscal year 18-19. I know we're just getting into 17-18, but we do need to begin that process of looking at the funds for next year. Part of that is doing a program planning schedule, which we have provided you for the months of July, all the way to basically to next year of July 2018. Again, this is for the program July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. So the activities that we have are essentially this meeting, of course, starting off October 14th. And we also have a needs assessment process that we follow with our public hearings, which is scheduled for September 20th at Pacific Community Center, along with some analysis of some needs assessments that are produced by the City of Glendale or other agencies that we look at. For example, the census data, the South Glendale Plan Study. There's a citywide pedestrian plan that's being circulated amongst the city. And then, of course, those studies and all that get into our needs assessment, and our next meeting would be October 23rd for the committee. And I believe that's a Monday as well. I don't remember the date of that. But we would have another meeting for the advisory committee on the 23rd, followed by a council meeting on the 7th. So please mark your calendars for October 23rd for the City Council, for our CDBG Advisory Committee. And that will follow with our regular process of our RFP beginning November 17th, all the way to the end of the year, and then beginning with our review of the proposals throughout January, February, and a CDBG Advisory Committee meeting February 23rd, 2018. That's a Friday, a full day, and then you have a follow-up meeting on the 26th, if necessary, for the capital improvement projects. Again, last year, we're very fortunate to have one full meeting that would cover the full day of proposals from CDBG, CIP, and social service programs. So we won't know to the end of the proposal process whether we'll have 2 or 1 meetings. Of course, in between those meetings, we may have special meetings that are called for changes in the block grant program. Either funds are returned, funds are RFP'd out, or something new happens. So we always have something in between. But by and large, those will be the next meetings of the advisory committee meeting, followed by city council approval of our plan beginning April 2018, and then a review process for the community comment on the plan. So this does represent a full year of planning processes for the program for the CDBG, and also our homeless ESG program and our housing home program. And that's would be my report.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. What's next, please?
There's a motion for that, right?
Yes. Mr. Carrillo just reminded me that there is actually a motion for this. This is an action item, so we do need a motion in order to approve the planning schedule.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'll make a
Do you
motion.
have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the program planning schedule as provided by staff for the 2018-2019 action plan.
We have a second?
A second.
Okay,
We have a second?
thank you. Committee members Armenian,
Yes.
Kazarian,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Tashton is absent, Chair Armenian.
Yes.
Item 5B, reports information only. At 1, receive report regarding final fiscal year 2017-18 CDBG funding allocation from HUD.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Beginning of the year, we had proposed preliminary funding for the CDBG program because we did not know, and this is an oral report, I didn't produce anything, although I do have a handout that I can provide the committee. It wasn't ready in time until we had our figures completed. And I'll give a second till we get the handout. As I mentioned, we did have a preliminary funding amount for CDBG of $1.6 million that we were expecting from HUD. Of course, the concern was we really did not know what funding amounts would finally get allocated because of the delay in Congress in approving a fiscal year 2017 budget, which was not done till after our meetings in March and finalized, I believe, in April. And so even with council, we still didn't have a final figure for us to go with the funding amounts that we're going to receive from HUD. Final funding amount, instead of 1.6 million, was 1,634,112. So that gave us a little bit more than we anticipated from HUD. Now, there was some proposed CDBG program income that we were expecting, or we thought we would be able to use for carryover into the next year. However, after doing some allocations and some reviews of our budget with HUD and a final cost review for some of our projects, we decided that we couldn't. Well, we found out we did not have enough funds for that $40,000. That was something we had proposed, but we actually were short of funding on that. However, of course, the additional allocation made up for the funds. But all in all, we did balance the funding amount, the funds that you appropriated for the different projects for social services and capital projects were all allocated fully. The carryover funds that we had from a canceled project, which is Catholic Charities, a community center, was fully carried over for the Pacific Park Playground and pool shade structure project, and also the $34,000 that was allocated, actually also from the community center, was allocated to the nonprofit area, and that fully funded all the nonprofit projects. So all projects were fully funded. We are looking at a balance of uncommitted funds of $16,682. However, I want to kind of put caution on that until we do our final closeouts for our project for 2617, so we know exactly how much we will have to allocate for either current year funds or future projects. So we will probably come back in the next meeting with a report asking for the committee's I guess direction as far as where funds would be allocated. They can be allocated in capital. Some could be in the nonprofit area of social services. However, we will provide alternatives for the committee to make decisions. But all in all, at least everything was fully funded. We did not have to go back and make corrections for any of the projects that the committee recommended. We certainly expect the funds to be approximately the same next year as well. We hope so. But all in all, it was a very good proposal, very good plan that the committee approved, and council, of course, recommended for approval as well, that we did not fall short of funds. And we do have a little bit of a gap, a little bit of a balance of funds. But again, at the end of the year, we do need to make sure we do not fall short of funds for or anything for the following year.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions, comments? I personally appreciate the staff, what they're doing, and appreciate the lobbying, what the staff did in order went out and make sure that our funding stayed as it is, at least, if not raise it up, at least, so we got what it was allocated at the beginning, or we hoped that would be. So, and that's good for our organizations and nonprofits that they're receiving these funds, and we'll be receiving these funds, putting it in a good use. So I'm very happy on that. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Chair.
Item 5B2, receive report regarding status of current CDBG capital improvement projects.
And Mr. Chair, this is the long spreadsheet that you have. It's the summary and status of fiscal year 2016-17 CDBG capital improvement projects. Again, these are the projects that were funded a year and some actually a year and a half ago. These are our current capital, our city projects, and also, of course, our nonprofit, which are the majority of projects now, are the nonprofit projects that are still that are being worked on. And I do have a quick summary on each of those as far as the status report on the right side. I won't go through all of them, but I will let you know that a few of those projects that we certainly have been highlighting are moving forward. We do have a homeless housing project, which we have allocated over 2 years now. And so now this would be our year to begin to, actually last year and this year for 17-18, that we'll begin to now really look at some projects that we can feasibly do with our block grant funds, our home housing funds, and what we generally match with outside tax credit funds, which is a huge part of this project, to begin to look for some properties that would assist in housing the homeless and formerly homeless residents. And that project will begin moving forward now more quickly.
Mr. Carrillo, could I ask a question about that one specifically? Can you tell us what the total balance is in terms of where we are? Because we've been contributing to that for a couple of years now, right?
Yes, Mr. Armenian, members of the committee, yes, it's $374,000. So 370.
That's the total.
360 and 370 and 370.
That's the total.
Yes.
Over the several years.
Yes, it's 2 years. It's this last year, 16-17 and 17-18.
For a total of 370,000.
740
Oh, 704 times 2,
yes,
okay.
times 2.
And what's the amount that we are, the city is aiming to get to before you could actually start moving forward with it?
It depends on the size. The ideal size would be for 8 to 12 units. Again, we're probably looking about 4 to 6 million total if it's new construction. It really depends on the property and the type of acquisition, if we're doing acquisition rehab or it's straight new construction. But it depends on the number of units, and depends again if the more money we can get from tax credits, the more we could get for units. So it could range from 6 to 8 million that we really would like to have a good sized project. And some of this
That's
funds.
total cost of the project?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to get to is what's the amount of, like, the type of funds like CDBG is contributing to? What's the total amount of funds? Obviously, I anticipate that we're not trying to get the 8 million, because then, we'll all be well retired by then.
Correct, yes.
Is there like hey, we have to get to $2 million and then we can get into an $8 million project, or what's our goal? The reason I'm asking all these questions is, even though it's not the purview, I think, of this committee to oversee that's a city-led effort, we are contributing to it. My worry is a little bit that we are already in a situation of chasing the market, because the real estate market is been on a upswing, and your funds diminish in value because the market value goes up for such a to realize such a project. That's all.
Yes, Mr. Armenian, this is essentially it. This essentially should be enough CDBG funds to get started. There's other federal funds or home funds which also have been targeted to use for this, and that's about $1 million or $1.9 if we can carry over a couple of years of funds, and the rest would be what we call tax credits or other private financing. So we don't anticipate at this point requesting additional funds.
From CDBG.
Because
Okay.
we know the market is going, and it would prohibit us from getting something in the future if we're too far
So
behind.
the total amount that you cited, of 2 years of contributions, that's where, other than that, there won't be another line item for next year?
Yes, if that's our plan, is not to have additional funds requested.
Got it.
However, it's a subject to city council
Of course.
review, and if there's something that we see that we may need funds, we may need to look at that.
Thank you.
I have a question. Would you be able to buy property in Los Angeles? It's cheaper.
Committee Member Ramirez, it's not our intent to buy property or build in Los Angeles, because we want to have the services, again, available to clients that are formerly homeless, and it would make it much easier for them to come to the social services that are in Glendale, that we fund a lot of it, CDBG, and it could be Ascensia, it could be the YWCA, it could be All for Health, which is our health clinics, or D.D. Hirsch. So we want to have control over the clients that we have services available for them. Doesn't always preclude us sometimes from going to different areas. If we're working with a different city, sometimes that works out where we're working with Pasadena, and we share a 50% cost. We've had a project like that, not CDBG, but other projects like that.
We did Burbank at one time.
Burbank was proposed at one time, but there's our options. But we really like to have something that's conducive for clients to come and utilize the services, because, again, this is very unique in that we want clients to be able to be accessible to the services in the community.
I just want if I can point out something I just found over here. Well, I didn't just find it, but this is what brought to my attention. The home element conversion to solar, and it's very clear here. It says San Fernando Road, Los Angeles. So it has been pointed out. That's in case you hadn't noticed that, Mr. Armenian.
Yeah, and just in addition, the other projects that we have are certainly nonprofit projects that we have funded in 2016. Again, this was the last year that we had granted funding. There's Adventist Hospital, which is going through its review stage of a building permit, which has been processed, and will be going out to bid shortly this month in August. There are two projects, actually, a ramp and a door, and that would hopefully get their senior center started. They do have funds that they're allocated on their own side to develop their senior center. As Committee Member Ramirez mentioned, we do have renovations going on at the Home and Edmond South Campus property. Those restrooms, which was phase 1, was completed last year, and this year we're doing this phase 2, which is the second floor restrooms. The solar panels are unique projects in that they are projects that construction takes about 2 weeks. Permits, approvals for water and power, exchange of energy takes about 2 months. So those processes are a little longer than anticipated for our capital projects. So those do take a little longer to not do the construction work, but the full transfer of power from the solar panel essentially to the grid. Again, the Home and Edmond is almost done with that project. Will be done in September 2017. Our Dora Hope projects are moving forward, and those include the flooring project, which is currently in its final design and getting their specs out. The Dora Hope projects for the roofing and also the solar panels are in the early construction process. I know they're, again, working on those design plans for water and power and roofing, but those contracts have all been signed and bidded out. Essentia is another solar panel project that we funded, and that project is, of course, in early construction where the plans have already been submitted to the water and power, and it's just waiting for approval processes. That actually was a multi-phase project where matching funds were provided by Essentia through LA County, and they did a roofing project as well. So they did the re-roofing, which is a white cool roof, which is an environmental green roof, which will really give them a lot of savings in cooling and energy costs, along with the solar panels. CDBG is only paying 1/3 of this cost, so they're receiving 2/3 in matching funds, which you'll see in a lot of these projects as well. But we also, of course, have several other projects that are in 2017 that we'll begin to work on as well, and those are the two Pacific Playground shade structure project, as I mentioned before, and also the new Home and Edmond project and the YWCA sprinkler and ADA project. So those are projects that our staff will be working on, but I think the solar panels are coming out very nicely. They certainly give some very considerable cost savings to the agency, as well as good for the environment, and we expect those to be very exemplary projects for showing the environmental sustainability for the city and funds that we put into, which are being used by the nonprofits for their operations.
Okay, thank you. Question?
Can I ask a broad question about all the solar projects together? We had spoken at a previous committee meeting about, I'd expressed some concern about CDBG getting into the energy efficiency, energy savings business a little bit, but we're there. But we had also talked about that the solar installations would, or the way it was presented to us, would defray, offset other operational costs on the energy side. Us asking for some sort of metric or reporting on how those offset operational costs are utilized by the organizations in other parts of their program, so that we're not just turning into a solar subsidy program, which is not what I think our intent for CDBG is. Our intent is, if we're going to, through this sort of capital improvement, be able to lower the organization's operational cost, hopefully they could trace back over time and make that a part of the regular reporting as to where those freed up dollars are being used to actually improve the lives and the impact on the people who these organizations serve at the end of the day, which
Yes.
is what part of our mission.
Absolutely, Mr. Armin. Yes, we looked at that as well. We were fortunate enough to know exactly, based on their bills, we know how much they're saving each month and throughout the year. So we'd be able to track that a little bit more, and as the agencies to provide us some.
So can we
some
ask
report.
for actual reporting?
If the committee
that?
wishes to request that, we could.
For all
ask
of them.
Yeah, for all of them.
That would be great. Actually, I have,
Do we have access to the Los Angeles utility bills?
Yes, we have received copies of that. And essentially what the solar panel companies do, they give you a report of how much savings you're going to have over a year, over 5 years, over 10 years. And it's very significant over 10 years. But, of course, the savings, as Mr. Armino mentioned, needs to be utilized for the operations for expansion or offsetting some other programs. And so that would be our intent for these funds. And we did place that question in the application for this year. We didn't get any solar panel requests, but that question was expanded upon, and a lot of information that was requested in that application will be utilized for the solar panel projects.
Thank you. I have a question or suggestion, if any. As this project, especially the capital improvement projects, are going forward and being completed, I've asked that question, I think, early on, that if we can have, outside of the report, I know visiting each location, it may not be very feasible for all the committee members at the time-wise and all that. If we can at least get some kind of a, with the reporting, maybe some kind of a video, clips of pictures, whatnot, that it actually shows the project before and after, and that we can see the project was done. And I think that's something will be useful for the community also, to see where the dollars are spent, is actually job is done. It's not just conversational or on a paper. Just to be, I guess, open to our community and see what's going on. If that's doable, we can ask the organization. That would be great.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. We can get some before and after. We do have a few already completed projects, and as we go through for the next meeting, which will be October, we can bring some. A lot of these are roofing projects, so we need to make sure the contractors go up there and get us some pictures. But I think you'll see the differences in some of the projects, especially the roofing projects that are being done. So we can, for the next meeting, if the committee would like to, we can show a few of the pictures of the before and after, and because there is a big difference in that.
Thank you. Okay. Move on to our next, please.
Next is 5B3, receive report regarding summary of fourth quarter performance reports for fiscal year 2016-17 CDBG social service programs.
As Mr. Chair, I'd like to defer that to our staff, Armene Unayan Delanian, that will provide us a report on the social service programs for the CDBG program.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Armine Hunanian. I'm a staff to CDBG. I'd like to report on the CDBG Social Services 2016 and 17 programs. I'm pleased to inform you guys that we had 8 agencies providing social services, which all 8 of them have expanded their funding and they have met most of their goals. They have been with us, these agencies have been with us for a lot of years, and we've been working with them to streamline their programs, and they've been doing a great job. With that, I don't know if you have any questions, or I'll be glad to answer any questions you guys have with the report. But basically, the chart shows the number of proposed goals, the number that they served, and also the funding and the expenditure rate. So other than that, that's basically our report. We had 2 agencies, Housing Rights Center and CASP, that came a little bit short of their meeting their goals and their numbers. And the reasons behind that is for Housing Rights Center, they have complex housing issues that comes through their doors on a daily basis. So they are serving clientele, and they're they're serving everybody, so nobody is going unserved. The bar was raised for them to 700 based on our amendment earlier this year. However, for 2017-18, we will be going for the total number of 500 because that's more what the agency is serving, and they will not be turning anybody down. They will be serving whoever calls or requests for services. That's basically a Housing Rights Center. As far as the CASP, which is the Intervention Prevention Program, we've been working with 3 unified school districts, and those school districts and the administrators it's a referral-based system, and therefore the administrators have to feel comfortable with the parents to send their kids to to the counseling ultimately, and they've been doing a great job. But however, we fell a couple short, and we're going to be meeting with each school district this program year, and our hopes are that we could work more closely with the school district to make sure that we get more of our students that are in need to be served. And that's basically overall. Everybody else did a phenomenal job, and we're very pleased with all our agencies.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the report. Any questions?
I have a question. Is that, do you think that there's the resistance comes from the parents?
Based on my conversation with one of the school districts and the executive director, sometimes it is, sometimes it is just a matter of school districts referring. It goes, I could say both. They have to fill out the applicant information forms, and they have to give their consent to for their children to be served ultimately.
Correct, yeah. So that's why I was wondering, is that the holdup?
Sometimes, yes, it is, because we do require for each child and each family to complete the applicant information forms, and we are mandated by HUD to have those.
Sure. Well, that's understandable.
Thank you.
All right, great. Any other question? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is 5B4, receive report regarding status of fiscal year 2018-19 federal HUD budget.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this may be a little bit follow-up from our item number 1, B1, which is really the fiscal year 2018 budget. Again, we were fortunate to have our funding approved for 2017 in line with our estimate, and we had enough funds to cover everyone. Fiscal year 2018, as I mentioned, we did have a concern about funding being cut, of course, because in the 2018 what they call skinny budget from the White House, CDBG, home, and a number of HUD programs were proposed for elimination. So coming out from the budget, we had informed the committee that certainly that would make some definite drastic changes here, but we were able to work with our associations from community development and some, of course, being the Community Development Association, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, League of California Cities. The committee is very supportive in highlighting our Community Development Week a few months ago with council and making that proclamation. And I think a lot of that sent messages across the country to Congress. The House Committee on Appropriations approved a 2018 budget with CDBG funds with a minor 3% cut. The Senate approved a CDBG budget, and that's the Appropriations Committee, with a 0% cut in budget. So both our programs, CDBG and Home, did survive the budget cut from the administration by bipartisan support, and we're just waiting to see what the next steps would be. Again, the full House, the full Senate has to vote on these measures, and the full budget needs to be approved by the White House as well. But by and large, it does seem that the support is there for these programs nationally and bipartisanship support, and our associations continue to do their work in showing off the program, essentially. And really, we're a big part of that because we do want to have a program that does meet the national objectives of HUD, and that's what we're looking at for next year. Again, to continue CD Week, continue our relationship with our associations, continue our which was a very successful trip to Washington to speak to our elected officials, which was Senator Feinstein, Senator Kamala Harris, and of course our Congressman Schiff, which we have not done the three before, and that certainly led a very strong force. Senator Feinstein is on the committee that allocates HUD funds, so that's very important for us to continue to meet with her staff and support the CDBG program. But by and large, we did, I believe, survive this part of our being, which we hope will be for a while. So any questions on our fiscal 2018 budget?
Sounds good.
So essentially, I just want to add, and again, as we move through, we will propose a $1.6 million budget as we had last year, just to give us some flexibility, so we're not over ambitious in some projects, and if we do have more funds, and we can do the same as we've doing, is reallocate them back.
So you'll be conservative.
Yes, I'll be conservative with those numbers and hope for the best. And if something changes, we will automatically notify the committee and council as far as any cuts in budget for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, great job on your behalf and the staff behalf, going out and trying to keep the funds where it is, at least
Thank you.
relaying our message to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's next, please?
Next is item 6, committee staff comments.
Do we have any comments?
I think I would propose a comment. Could you get for me, because it's something I've been questioning since I was appointed initially back when, on the approval of the Minutemen Los Angeles grant, because it, the services, no question. It's where the facility is located.
Yes, Committee Member Ramirez, I know we've brought this up as HUD regulation does allow the siting of a facility outside the boundary of a city, as long as that primary services servicing the community that it services, which again will be Glendale. Also, for example, in social services, we have a agency that's based in Los Angeles, the Fair Housing Council, Los Angeles and Pasadena, and their service is available for Glendale via telephone, and they do come actually twice a year to do workshops. So HUD does allow the agency to service the community, including improvement funds, but we can double check and we can provide that regulation and see if there's any changes or any policies.
Because this is an improvement of a facility in this census tract, and the facility and the census tract don't square. So that's always been my concern.
I think what the regulation says, and certainly staff can validate this, is that as long as the primary people that it is serving is within the community located in the census tract for which the funds are allocated, that is allowed. This is why we keep going round and round on this, Committee Member Ramirez. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Carrillo, but there is documentation that the organization provides that shows, that demonstrates that the people they are serving are in fact from our census tract. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Ramirez, that's correct.
My concern is not the service, it's the facility.
Right.
We're improving a facility.
Right, and that's what, according to staff, and they'll verify,
and
it
it's
is
two separate
allowed.
criteria. That's all I'm saying. I just want clarification on that.
Well, okay, yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just want to add some staff comments, if I may. We will come back also for another agenda item in October, and that's the staff recommendation for projects that we reallocate funds to. For example, in the past, we've had a project which did not spend all their funds, or they're no longer doing the program, and we allocate $5,000 to one agency, $5,000 to another agency. Part of that process is a committee approval, or actually an RFP or a committee approval, and also city council approval. And we understand that sometimes it's very small amounts that we're allocating. Sometimes it's $3,000, and we know the work that city council has is quite lengthy, and we just don't want to burden the council too much with small changes. But our policies require us to go to council for even those minor changes. So we are proposing to work with our finance department, legal department, to have some discretion to have the committee's decision be binding, and that decision would be used for us to make administrative changes without going to council to a certain extent, a certain amount of funds. Of course, we're not looking at $100,000, but to a certain amount of funds that we want to allocate to agencies and not delay their contracts and their services by having the time we have to spend to go to council. So that will be an agenda item that will be coming up. But we just want to give you a heads up on that.
So presumably that would be at the October 23rd meeting?
Yes, Mr. Armin, yes. that will be-
Just had another question on that, the Youth Alliance program, is that our group that Senator Portantino has recognized?
Yes, yes.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. They're doing a
We
fabulous
commend them.
job. I see them all around the city.
And one last comment, we did have a HUD conference here in Los Angeles, and I'm sorry, here in Glendale. This is for the cities in Southern California, all the way from San Diego to, well, I guess Fresno to Riverside, Ventura County. So Glendale was the host of this conference by HUD, and the intent was to provide the cities some feedback as far as the budget goes, as far as what is happening in the HUD administration, what is happening with any regulatory changes, anything like that. So we're very fortunate to be selected as a city that would host the HUD conference, and that was a joint effort with us and the library to really show off Glendale and invite them to lunch out here in our great restaurants and highlight our projects that we do here in Glendale. So the HUD is very complimentary of Glendale and our block grant program and our other programs that we operate here. So that was great to have over 100, I think over 130 cities, agencies as well, for homeless agencies to come to Glendale and hear from HUD. Nothing new was reported from HUD other than what I mentioned, because they're in a situation they don't have some leadership there yet, but they're coming through.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? If not, I call the meeting closed.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
I move we adjourn.